I chose the new River Gorge as my ecosystem project, but we're mostly going to be focusing on the river. The river is a rugged whitewater river that flows northward through the deep canyons of the New River Gorge. It is among the oldest rivers on the continent. The park encompasses over 70 acres of land along the New River, enriched in culture and natural history, and offers an abundance of science and recreational opportunities. The animals that you might see in the New River Gorge are mammals, and there's approximately 65 species of mammals known to the New River Gorge area. The common mammals include groundhogs, raccoons, possums, gray and red fox squirrels, chipmunks, white-tailed deer, beaver, minks, and occasionally a river otter may sometimes be seen along the river. Black bears, bobcats are reclusive and mostly nocturnal. Coyotes, red and gray foxes may also be seen here. You will also see 40 species of reptiles and 50 species of amphibians. Most of these amphibians and reptiles that you may see at the river live in the river banks or under rocks near the shallow parts of the river. Nearly 50 species of amphibians have been documented at the New River Gorge. Species of special concern that are believed to occur within the park include the eastern hellbender and the black-bellied salamander. Wood frogs, spring peepers, and red-spotted newts are all commonly seen throughout the park. The southern Appalachian Mountain contains the most diverse salamander population in the world. With 34 different species, West Virginia is the home to the most species of salamanders than any other state. In the New River Gorge, you will find also approximately 90 species of fish that have been recorded in the watershed. A variety of habitats, including runs, rifts, pools, and pool edges, support a diversity of fish. Most common species in the river are the big-mouthed chub, the spotted finner shiner, the silver shiner, the mink shiner, the button-nosed minnow, the channel catfish, the flat-headed catfish, and the small-mouth bass. Some brook trout also live within the river, but they prefer the colder parts of the water. You will also find a wide variety of plants in the park. The New River Gorge lies at the core of the largest remaining block of relative unfragmented mid-latitudinal forests in the world. Also located in the park is the rare Appalachian flat rock plant community, which includes cedar, cedars, and pines. This plant assembly occurs on a flat sandstone ledges along the New River and depends on the sources caused by occasional flooding for its long-term inability. Here we have a mountain laurel and a rhododendron. In the bottom right-hand corner is the mountain laurel, and on the top left-hand corner we have the rhododendron. And over here we have a pine, and we have a type of berry bush over here. All these things are great and wonderful, but they are many of these species that we have talked about that are being endangered or having troubles because of climate change. Every year, the New River Gorge is exposed to tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Because of this, the preservation of the forests within the park and the ecosystem that rely upon them, it is critical in the global effort to migrate and adapt to the effects of climate change. The people that are having the most effect are the fish, mussels, and other aquatic species, are the species that are most vulnerable to the effect of climate change. This is due to many of these species being located with hydrocarbon niches and their inability to disappear into new areas. Also being affected is certain types of tree species that are unavailable or vulnerable to the effect of climate change. The tree species that are most vulnerable include hemlocks, sugar maples, beech trees, and various types of birch trees. The environmental factors are also affecting the river and the wildlife and the plants around the New River Gorge. The New River Gorge has been studied in West Virginia. The park has studied the water, and the data from these studies suggest presence of metal, organic contaminations, and sulfur of raw sewage are common in many rivers, many areas of the river. Metal contamination resulting from mining and activity and urban sulfur flows are present in most of the waters and streams, especially Wolf Creek and Dawn Loop Creek and Piney Creek, showing produce values, so pretty high values. Other sources of pollution within the park boundaries include unlined landfills, legal dumps, pesticides sprayed directly into the river, agriculture runoff, road salt runoff, direct discharge of residential sewage, and overflow of sewage treatment facilities and recreational water streams, and this all causes a rise in the pH of the water. So it usually changes to acidic, and that's not a good state for the fish or any of the organisms living in it. So it starts to change our whole ecosystem. With the sewage, we get a fecal California bacteria that is not very good for the fish at all. And also another environmental factor is flooding, which causes sedimentation, and that can change the habitat of a species very fast, causing the ecosystem to change also. The New River Gorge ecosystem started when the North American and African plate collided, buckling and shattering the Earth's crust and forcing the Appalachians to move upward into the sky. The river can be traced back to the Tees River, with the headwaters near present-day Blowing Rock, North Carolina. It drained the slopes of the new mountain range. As the Tees River picked up speed, it began cutting through the roots in the old mountains, all while maintaining northerly flow. This action continues today in this spectacular New River Gorge, where in some places the New River has cut 1,500 feet down through the old Appalachians to create deep canyons. Because the New River is so old, its habitats and wildlife have been able to achieve a formal stability. Millions of years of available passage have allowed many species of plants and animals to move in and present in the area. Since the New River cuts from east to west across the Appalachians, we find species that are typically Atlantic coastal plain and Piedmont, such as the minkle grass living with northern mountain species. Because time has favored the New River Gorge, certain unique species have been able to crave their own niches here. Species of fish have evolved that are epidemic, found nowhere else to the river. Here we have a food chain in the river ecosystem. Here we have a food web. I'm just giving you an idea of the river ecosystem. A lot of these species are not in the New River Gorge. As you can see, all these have an effect on each and every organism here. A predator prey that we can see here is the eagle and the fish. The plankton and the smaller insects. We can also see bear, foxes, raccoons eating the fish, and that is another predator prey. We'll also see a predator prey with the mayfly and the fish being the mayfly being the prey. Here are some relationships within the ecosystem. The most popular is the carp and the mussel. They compete for plankton, and that is a competitive relationship. So here we have one of the endangered species, which is climbing more towards the extinct species in the river, and it is a catty-datter. They typically live in cold water, fast-moving selections of small, medium rivers. They are like clean gravel at the bottom of the river to lay their eggs. They prefer large cobblestones and boulders, and they usually use these for shelters to lay their eggs. They are very important links into the ecosystem. They balance out the aquatic food web. They help convert and transfer energy in the aquatic ecosystem by feeding on a variety of micro invaders, including mayflies and cadflies, which enable them to grow large enough to become prey for larger fish like trout and bass. They're also known to help with the reproduction of freshwater mussels, and the mussels help filter out the bottom of the river. One of the main reasons these guys are going extinct is because of hyperlinks, other species coming in and breeding with these guys, so they're not full-blooded most of the time anymore. Another reason is sediment buildup in the river, so they're not being able to have those good rocky beds to take shelter on and lay their eggs. Another species that is
another endangered species.
Endangered.
The
They're not
hellbender.
quite on the endangered
It is currently
list yet.
not on the endangered species list, and they're working to get that started.
And for more information about the New River Gorge, you can visit their website.